The next morning, at the station. Standing outside the station, I can't help but smile to be back. The station is cast in a bloom of sunlight which pours through the glass windowed walls, making everything inside seem to glow. It seems spring is really on its way now, its arrival announced by the few drops of sunshine from the daffodils bursting in the pots outside of the station doors. Even some pink faced pansies have revealed themselves around the base of the trees along the street. It's refreshing to see it all, a burst of color and brightness after the stark coldness of the facility. Pushing open the doors, I step through and my steps echo in the foyer. I glance up to see Douglas slouched at the front desk, phone in his hand. It suddenly feels like I haven't been away at all. Hmm. Ah, Officer Friedman, hard at work, I see. My voice obviously catches Douglas's attention, the kid looking up and doing a double take before shoving his phone into his pocket with practiced speed. Oh, Detective, you're back from your seminar already. Obviously, Rebecca has already given me cover for my absence. Pleased I'm back so soon? I ask in teasing. He clears his throat, brushing his bangs from his face. Yeah, totally. His attention slides to his pocket where his phone is. It really is like I've never been away. It's strange having a normal, everyday conversation with Douglas after everything that's happened. I'd been asked firmly but politely by the agency to keep things under wraps. Letting the general public know about supernaturals would only incite panic, especially with one on the loose around Wayhaven. Not only might it endanger humans, but it could seriously endanger supernaturals. It wasn't like I had much choice to agree. I'm not sure what half of their agents are capable of, and I don't want to find out the punishment for going against them. Still, um, no, I don't really have an opinion about this. The agency has been running this operation for a long time. They obviously know what they're doing. In the end, it's up to them how they want to handle it. My thoughts are interrupted by the doors opening behind me. Unit Bravo marches inside in their usual imposing formation, and Douglas barely gives them a look of greeting. Come on, I say, nodding my head to gesture further into the station. Let's go to my office. The team follow my lead, and as I turn to close the door, I hear the familiar bleep bloop of Douglas's phone. I give a half smile. It's amazing how the sound can settle me so quickly back into work. Whoa! I can't help but let the word exhale from me as I enter my office. The last time I'd seen it, it had been a wreck of mangled furniture and broken windows. Now it is exactly the same as it had been, as though the fight had never taken place. Even my desk, shattered from a blow, is in perfect condition, except for the smashed corners still held together with silver tape. The agency is pretty good at cover ups, Farah mutters as she passes by. Really? They really had to keep that smashed corner in? Obviously, I reply, shaking my head to rid my surprise. I continue on to sit behind my desk. My gaze flutters down to something bright and yellow on my keyboard. Tina's handwriting is scrawled over the memo note, which reads, Glad you're back. Even more glad I didn't have to sit with you during a stuffy seminar. A smile catches my lips at the note, but I place it back down as Unit Bravo begins to settle into their places around my office. We need to go on the offensive with Murphy, Ava says suddenly, voice as strict as her stance. He'll be desperate to find you now, especially because he must know that the agency is on his trail. Nat nods. Yes, the general plan is to find him before he finds you, Detective. Hmm. I better be kept in the loop this time. Nat nods, a flicker of shame flashing across her features. Of course, it'll be much easier now you know everything. I fold my arms. You might actually have a chance of finding him now. We'll start at the hospital, as Agent Langford suggested, Ava says. You really think we'll find anything there? Farah asks with a shrug. There must be some reason Murphy impersonated a blood technician. I let out a sharp breath. And there might be something still there if he hasn't gone back. The team nod in agreement, all except Morgan, who instead sparks up a cigarette, seeming to ignore the general conversation. We should split up, Ava and Farah, Morgan and I. Some of us head to the hospital with the detective, while the others check in with the agents posted nearby. Nat suggests, glancing between Ava and I for confirmation. Ava gives a nod. Excuse me. Ava gives a nod, as I do. A jolt of confidence strikes through me to finally be fully with the team. A moment of quiet falls over them, and I realize they're waiting for me to decide who to take to the hospital. Uh, we'll take Ava and Farah. I suppose Ava and Farah should come to the hospital with me, I say, eventually shifting my coat further around me. I'm glad I hadn't bothered to take it off since we're heading out again already. Can't stay away, eh, Detective? Faraz says with a wink, only to have Ava's hand settle on her shoulder and reprimand. Nat steps closer, concern lining every feature of her face. Be careful then. We don't know where Murphy might be lurking. That's why I'm taking backup, right? The tension does relax into a smile. I suppose you're right, but it doesn't hurt to be cautious all the same. I give an appreciative nod at her concern before continuing to get ready. My hand falls to my belt, ensuring my gun and pepper spray are firmly secured. We'll meet you there, Detective, Ava says, breaking out of conversation with Morgan. I frown. You don't want to drive together? My words trail off as I realize. Right, you're probably faster than cars. Not all cars, Farrar replies. Some of those expensive sports ones go seriously fast. Not that I've tried to race them or anything. Then I'll get going and meet you there. I'll wait in the parking lot. I give a nod of farewell and then head out of my office, prepared for the task ahead. It still seems odd to me how, as their task is protecting me, I would suspect that they would value protection over just getting there a bit faster, especially because they then have to wait for me to get there anyway. And I don't think I'm particularly safe away from them in a car. But what do I know? Back in the office. As soon as the detective leaves, Farrar flops back into the chair with a sigh. It's a shame we have to leave when this is all over. I'm growing fond of. Actually, wait, that is Farrar. Oops. Was being a bit absent minded there for a second. It's a shame we have to leave when this is all over. I'm growing fond of this place and our Detective Langford. They've done very well considering what's happened, Nat says, leaning against the back of a chair and shoving her hands into her pockets. When was the last time a human agreed to working with us? They're usually happier working with demons or imps than they are working with vampires. Farrar shudders at the word demons, but tries to bite down the reaction so the others don't notice too much. I may have been human once, Morgan adds, but I still don't understand them. She then glances down at her phone. Agent Langford is faxing over the file now. You might want to get to the machine before the bobblehead does. Nat glances out through the glass partition to where Tina has come up from the basement lab. A mass of styled hair sitting atop her head. It is hard to dispute the comparison, but Nat shoots Morgan a reprimanding look anyway. I'll get it, Nat then says, standing back up. We'll meet you back here after the hospital? Ava nods. Yes, I doubt we'll be too long. The team then fly into action. Ava and Farrar head out to catch up with the detective at the hospital, while Nat and Morgan try to cut Tina off before she can reach the fax machine. At the hospital parking lot. After squeezing my car once again between two fancy, pristine, and polished sports cars, I maneuver myself out of my door and slam it shut. My car creaks at the harsh action. Fresh air hits me and I take a gulp of it. Soon, I know, I'll have to descend into the disinfectant layer of the hospital. It's spread out like a flat cream monstrosity amongst a few trees which are attempting to bloom, making the thing look a little less harsh against the landscape. Bit of an eyesore, isn't it? Farah asks, and I whirl around to find the two striding towards me. I'm not sure whether to be impressed or terrified at how quickly they must have gotten here on foot. Ava glances over the building, though I can't see her judgment of it, as her eyes are once more hidden behind Aviator's sunglasses. Let's get this over with. Inside, we pass through the waiting area. The receptionist barely glances up at me with an acknowledging sneer. Both of our Ava and Farah shy away from the intense fluorescent light from overhead, preferring to walk along the one wall where the light doesn't hit so much. They don't make conversation as we walk, the silence accentuated by the lack of people in the hospital, except for the light footsteps of a couple of nurses who pass us by. The attention of the staff shifts to my colleagues as we go, and I can't really blame them. The strikingly attractive vampires certainly stand out from the usual plain crowd of Wayhaven's population. Ava's nose wrinkles and her lips turn down the closer we get to the technician's lab. I can't tell whether it's from the clinical smell or if she's just offended at life in general. Here we are, I say as we reach the door to the lab. The sign still hangs askew and still says the wrong name. Yes, Ava says, shoulders tensing. I can smell his lingering scent. Um, hmm. Well, nah. You're going to be useful to have around if you can tell stuff like that. Like a dog. I'm so glad you approve, she replies flatly. Shaking my head, I drop a hand to the doorknob to twist it open. Inside the lab. Last time I'd been here, the laboratory had been spotless. Now it looks like a crash site. Heaps of files strewn on the floor, half-toppled beakers spilling out bright liquid contents on countertops, and a bottle with something unidentifiable oozing out onto the ground just before our feet. The only thing remaining, the only things remaining untouched seem to be the machines around the edges. They're whirring gently to themselves, apparently uncaring whether anyone is around to tend them. Guess Murphy really did leave in a hurry, Farah says, surveying the mess from the doorway. After scanning the area, I pick my way through the room and head towards the back where the computer is, I guess. The others get to work looking over the rest of the lab. The machine bleeps to life as I press a few keys on the keyboard, a glow cast from the monitor as the whole thing springs to life. To my amazement, it seems it hasn't been wiped clean. Even Murphy was very confident or very stupid to leave any potential evidence behind. My focus shifts for a moment as I notice Ava and Farah begin winding their way through the heap of mess as well. Get back to the computer. No distractions, Jules. You need to focus on the case. Pleasure comes afterwards. Turning back to the computer, I'm about to set to work when Ava calls to me. Ava picks up a nearby test tube, one of the few not smashed to pieces. There is a small piece of cloth swirling around inside it, suspended in a clear liquid. It's yours. What? I can smell your blood in this. I tense, wondering whether to be disgusted or worried. Must have gotten it when I cut my hand. I rub at my palm. The injury I'd received in this very lab has mostly healed. With more determination, I turn back to the computer to try and find what this vampire's deal is. Found anything? Farah asks as she comes to stand beside me. I give a shrug in reply, then move the mouse clicking on an unnamed folder on the desktop. Inside the folder is a series of graph-like pictures. Red, blue, and yellow lines arc and dip on the tables. On another page there is a list of codes, also in a variety of colors, next to each other in long rows. What are they? Farah asks, lip curled in confusion. Looks like DNA results, I reply, clicking through a few more, all of them different. Maybe Murphy was looking into the mutation too. I recognize those, Farah says, jutting a finger out towards the screen as I click onto some pictures. They resemble abstract art. It's blood slides. Mind you, I haven't seen blood like that before. Let me see, Ava says, stepping up beside us as well. I gesture to some of the bright blobs on the picture. These are human blood cells, but I don't know what this is mixed in with. Ava's eyes narrow. It's vampire blood. Look at the name of the slide, Farah says, and we all look. Janet Greenland. Taking control of the mouse, Ava flicks through the other slides. These are all named after victims. Why do they have vampire blood? I ask, staring at the screen. He must be injecting them with it, Ava says as a theory. You thought he was experimenting on them? This must be how. She moves away from the desk, rubbing a hand along her jaw. I turn to face the team leader. Is he trying to turn them into vampires? Farah chuckles, perching on the edge of the desk. It's a bit more complicated than just dosing someone up with vampire blood. Oh? Curiosity prickles at the edge of my mind, but I let it go to focus on the case at hand. I'm not even sure what it would do to someone with the mutation, Ava adds, pacing the short length of the room. Farah folds her arms, glancing back at the monitor. At least you know now what's in store if he catches you. This may surprise you, but that doesn't help me relax at all. Farah grins. Knowledge is power. Knowledge can also be terrifying. She shrugs. I guess it's what you do with it. Are you two finished? Ava snaps, making us both turn to face her. An uneasiness settles over me at the thought of the blood slides and what they could mean. It's a selfish sentiment, but I don't want to die, especially not as some vampire's experiment. When it was a human killer we were after, you were more than keen to go after him, but now you know he's a vampire, you're uncertain? Ava asks, pulling me from my dour thoughts. Not uncertain, just thinking about how to proceed. We should get agents in to take the computer. Have the lab look over it and see what more they can get from it, Ava suggests. I give a nod. Then we can meet the others back at the station and let them know what we found. Ava steps away to make the call, Farah hanging around beside me as we wait. You're starting to settle into this team, you know, she says, giving me a grin before marching away towards the door. I watch her go, then glance over at Ava. I wonder if it's a good thing to settle into anything with a group of vampires. Alright, now quickly, again, this is similar to the last part. We're a bit short on time here, but I wanted to ask you guys anyway, what sort of episode length do you like? I mean, most of my playthroughs of games generally tend towards the 30-minute mark. I feel like for some, well, choice games, don't know what the exact, choose your own adventure games, I think is the proper term for it. I think a 15 minute, somewhere around that mark, 15 to 20 minutes fits better anyway. But just let me know in the comments, what's your preferred length for these? Would you prefer them to be longer, shorter? Do you like the current length? I feel like for games like these, this is a good length. Like, can't pay attention to just someone reading too long, I feel. And even if you can, I think it's fine to just wait for a couple episodes to go to come out and then binge them, if that's what you prefer. They're all in the playlist. You can just go to that and have them play back to back. And with this one especially, well, not in this specific case, but most of the time, I try not to do introductions to new episodes and like outros as well, so that if you want to, you can actually just listen to all of them back to back without being interrupted by the constant intros and outros to videos. Yeah, that's just what I quickly wanted to mention. So let me know. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next chapter.